And now our host, Stephen Lee Morris.
This week, we're joined by novelist and playwright Gay Wally. Her novel, The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable, was published by IML Publications and has been the basis of two films, for which, in both films, she wrote the screenplays. Her stage play, Love, Genius on a Walk, about a meeting between the composer Gustav Mahler and the psychotherapist Sigmund Freud, opened in Midtown Festival in New York in 2013 and was nominated for 6 awards, including Best Playwright. It was also performed at the Etc. Theatre in London in 2018 and is tentatively slated to reopen in London in September. Ms. Wally has written a collection of books under the title Venus as She Ages. One of those books, Right, She Said, studies the life of French novelist and film director Marguerite Duras. Ms. Wally talks about the differences between writing a novel and writing a play, plus her forays into the world of independent film. She joins us from New York. Gay Wally, welcome to Animal Farm.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Stephen.
Great. You are primarily a writer, and I'll ask the ancient question, where on earth did this come from? You are primarily a novelist, but you have written at least one play now, 2, that is about one of them you heard this week was a New York Theater for a New City is taken a great interest in it and is committed to a reading of it and has said they would like to produce it when we're back in the air. So you're a literary person. Where did this start from? Is this a latter day avocation and now a vocation, or is it something that you had all along since?
When you say, do you mean the theatrical part or
no,
literary altogether?
The literary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that was clear to me very young, and that I would be a writer. I had a flair for it, and I was never thinking I should be anything else. I had no idea what I was wanting to be, and I had no idea what kind of lifestyle it would be, and I knew nothing about what I was talking about. But I was very clear that writing was. I mean, I've done other things to make money, obviously, but I always knew that writing was my thing.
You do teach writing workshops, is that correct?
I teach writing workshops. I edit. I ghostwrite. I'm all about words. And when I was working in the commercial world, I was a copywriter. So I've always been working in words. Yeah.
So you're a wordsmith. Let's start with the literaries, with the books,
Okay.
and then we'll transition to the films and then finish up with the theater, if that's okay. You have currently a collection of 6 books under the sort of group title Venus as She Ages. And you mentioned that you yourself found yourself aging as you were writing these books. One of them is called Right, She Said, that is WRITE,
right,
about Marguerite Duras. And
Marguerite Duras and Jean Rhys.
And Jean Rhys, which you feel, you're starting to feel the hunger to just turn that book into a stage play, possibly.
Yes.
So how are these books connected and what are the other ones about? And you also have a Paris connection. There seems to be an interest in getting podcasts of these.
Well, there are podcasts about 6 books. I have 3 books out, 3 novels out, but these 6 books, this Paris firm, although they'll come out in the States, she first brought out The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable, which is one of the books that is out, and she seems to like my work, and she came up with this.
Who is she?
She's a woman in Paris.
I like her name.
Oh, her name is I apologize. Murphy Lewis.
Yes.
Murphy Lewis, and her imprint is IML Publications.
Okay.
And she came up with this Venus as She Ages concept. She the last book in the 6th series is, of course, the oldest. It's called Magnetism, and a character in it makes a sort of a joke about Venus as she ages, and so she named the collection that, and so they start. Strings Attached is actually a reprint of my first book. It's a young girl and who grows up into a woman. The second one is To Any Lengths. It's about a woman getting married and being rather frightened of it, and she gets up to some mischief. The third one is Prison Sex, which is a sort of a man in prison, a woman in an unhappy marriage, and a husband married to that woman. So all three are in prison and how they break out. The fourth is The Bed You Lie In, which is about two adults, and the characters are aging as I age writing these. Two adults, and that I think that takes place late 40s, early 50s in the characters, and that's two Holocaust survivors. I'm sorry, children of Holocaust survivors, and how they are crazy in a relationship. Then we go into the last two books that are written when I was older and are more peaceable, you could say. And the next one is Right, She Said, which is an imagination of Jean Rhys and Marguerite Duras coming back to life to straighten me out, my character out, and in love and writing. And I go on a trip with them to Vienna and move into the Sacre Hotel with them. And they have to adjust to contemporary time, and I'm learning about love and writing with them. And that was just an indulgence of wanting to write something. They are very favorite writers of mine, and sort of imagining them coming back to life. And the reader learns about their lives through the book, and even some about their books. And it's a kind of a fun book. And then the last one is Magnetism, which is a woman in her 60s who wants to still have a sexuality, still wants to have it going on. And so it's really about how she keeps that going in her life. So there are podcasts actually on each of the books. So these allegedly will come out in September.
Allegedly.
Well, you know how that is.
I know what you mean. And then, so this one book, what's the relationship in chronology between this collection of books and the one book that got quite a bit of traction, and that's The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable?
Erotic Fire of the Unattainable. The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable was written probably before the fourth one in this collection. IML brought that out years ago. I can't really remember what year, maybe 2007 or something. And then Skyhorse reprinted it maybe 5 years ago. And it's a very interesting book. It's kind of about being an artist, but many things. And it's written in aphorisms. And the least likely book ever to be made into a film. And yet it attracted a little interest for a film. In a way, I'll never in a way understand why. But then, because it doesn't have traditional characters, it doesn't have dialogue, it doesn't have a traditional narrative. There is a narrative in it, but of a woman getting over divorce and being with another man, but not quite being over the divorce. But that's a very thin thing. There's a lot more going on. And anyway, that got made into a film. And they were frightened of the name, The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable, so they called it The Unattainable Story. And then...
Were you the writer, the screenwriter on that?
I wrote the film. But I have to say, as many screenwriters say, the film doesn't seem to match the script. And so
Now, was
but
that your first
yeah,
venture into screenwriting?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
And then um, then I only maybe about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, a director, Frank Vitale, came to me and having read some of my books and said he wanted to make a movie. I thought he wanted to make a movie of one of the books, but he said, no, I want to make a movie with you in it. I make docu-fiction, which takes a real person and puts them in fictional situations.
and you have no background in performance or strength yet?
Not at all. And I told him that. He said, it doesn't matter, you're playing yourself.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think any of it out, and it did turn out to did require acting, but of course I wasn't playing somebody I didn't know. And so
Unless you don't know yourself.
yeah, and there were many times I felt that during the shoot. But anyway, he said, what are you writing now? And I was writing a 3-part thing on love. And he said, let's shoot it. So I scrapped it as a book and I felt, well, this will be interesting. It'll be like sort of writing on the screen. And it actually was a lot of fun to make. But
you were also the writer on that, correct? The screenwriter?
There was only one real actor in it.
Uh-huh.
And so
how did you go about I'm just interested in the process. How did you go about writing a movie that you're in? Was it written ahead of time before you were shooting? Okay, it was pre-scripted.
Yeah, it was.
But so you were writing a role for yourself.
There was a fair amount of improv, because only one was a real actor. So the rest of us were not skilled at taking lines and so the script was there. Did it come out word for word like the script? No, but the scene was what it was supposed to be and the points were what they were supposed to be. I just made the book into a screenplay and changed the book because I had the problem in the book. I'm many ages, but obviously, so there were limited changes that had to happen because of the way he shot it, and it comes off, I won't say like cinema verite, but it comes off, I think everybody acted very well, but it doesn't have the sheen and the beauty it has beauty, but I'm not a young, beautiful star. The people look like real people. So, so it doesn't have the Hollywood feeling, but it's dramatic and it's kind of fun. And he took the name of The Erotic Fire of the Unattainable to name the film, because in a way there's some of the same themes. So so that's why it seems the book got a lot of traction.
And the first film you mentioned was a different director, correct? Obviously, yes. And that did not use the name. You said they were afraid of the name. They
were told not to because they felt that people would see it as an erotic film.
Who was the producer of that first version? Who was?
It was Susan. God, I'm blanking on her name.
So it was an independent. It wasn't a.
Yeah, it was definitely. And Emilia Ferreira directed it, and this one is Frank's film, and Frank produced and directed this one.
Right.
And actually, this one, without real actors, and without a lot of money behind it, got into 5 festivals, and I don't know, and allegedly we're going to have a. He hasn't signed yet, but there is apparently a distributor interested. So it actually, in my opinion, did better than the moneyed one.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's segue into the theater. correct me if I'm wrong, 2013 was the year Love, Genius, and
Love, Genius, and a Walk.
On a Walk, about Gustav Mahler.
Right. That was commissioned by the Mahler Society in New York.
Okay.
after reading The Erotic Fire, so you're right, The Erotic Fire does kind of brought its strange wings, because I write about music in that. And
Yes.
so he asked me to write a play about Gustav Mahler for the 100th anniversary of Gustav Mahler's death and his meeting with Freud. Mahler met with Freud once over his wife's Alma having an affair with Walter Gropius. And I thought that would be an incredible challenge. And I had always secretly wanted to be a playwright and a playwright. And most of what I write, except for Erotic Fire, the book is quite dialogue driven. So I thought, well, I'll try this. Everybody said, oh, it'll go nowhere. You'll never, this is an insane idea on your part. But I was very curious whether I could I write two geniuses, you know, I mean, and in a way, maybe I thought it would go nowhere too. And, but I was just curious, what would that be like, you know? And so I did some research on that meeting and on that it's in the last year of Mahler's life. And I wrote the play. There's a modern component to it as well. I wanted to show that these problems in art and relationship are eternal. And so I frame it against modern times, and I even have a dinner party where both time frames are finishing each other's sentences. And so yeah, so that was in a festival here, and
it was performed in a festival, or as a reading, or as a production?
As a production.
Uh-huh.
And
then who produced it? Who the first?
That was Vicki Abrams produced it, and the Midtown Theater Festival. They're sort of co-producers on it. And then a woman, Wendy Payne, took it to London to there was one theater in Camden, but the rest were pub theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met Lloyd Morris, and he played Mahler. And then
and this production, he played Mahler in the production.
The one in London, moving around England. There was, I think, three pub theaters and the Et Cetera Theater in Camden. And then now we're hoping, it was supposed to open last April for a month at the Theatre Technique in London.
Yeah.
But we know what happened. And then it was postponed 3 times. We know what happened. And now we think it's going to open in September.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not, we don't have dates, but it looks like it. So
but we're all at the mercy of the variants right now.
Yeah. Yeah. London apparently is opening May 17th, their theater. I hear that may change, but yeah, it's a fun play. Getting to know Mahler and Freud, and they take a walk in Leiden to discuss women and art.
Final question. Did you find that in writing a play, a play, so much of the virtue of a play seems to be in the authority and the power and the charisma of the actors and the subtext and what's going on between the lines, whereas in fiction, in literature, all of that, to be clear, needs to not just alluded to, but even pointed out. And I'm wondering, this is your first play. How did you cross that divide? How did you not overwrite it? Because given, I imagine it would be tempting.
I think my early draft, I did overwrite it. And it's funny you bring that up because, and I'm sure you know this very well, that for the festival, it was a 2-hour play and we had an hour and a half slot. And I had to cut it, what was essentially a fourth of the play.
Yeah.
And I did. And I had to do it in a day because you didn't want the actors waiting, when we found out it was, So, and you know that it deeply improved the play.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they did you a
So,
favor. They
yeah,
did you a favor. Probably all that exposition or something.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
so I did. Um, so yes, I did overwrite.
Yeah.
I think initially, but
And did that have an impact on the writing of your new play that Theatre for
yes,
New
I'm
City is going to be doing?
to an extent. But I write plays in an abundant kind of way, I think, and maybe that is the novelist. I'm not. I have not been attracted to writing a two-person play or a four-person play. You know, it's sort of I want to paint a large
Yeah,
canvas.
sure, sure.
So that may be part of having the freedom of writing. When I was young, I wanted to be a playwright, but I felt that the structure of playwriting would limit me. Now that I'm older, I feel the opposite, you know, but as a young writer, I thought, oh, well, I have to follow all these structural thing. I'm gonna have my wings clipped.
Yeah.
But and so I moved to novels. But now I feel something wonderful, you know, about the theater. So, but you're right about the whole thing that a novelist is the director, writer, performer. But the you know, watching how other people interpret things is pretty interesting.
Gay Wally, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Stephen.
Next week, we're joined by actor Thomas Sadowski, who's best known for his roles as Don Kiefer in the HBO series The Newsroom and as Matt Short in the sitcom television series Life in Pieces. On the stage in 2008, he originated the role of Greg in Neil LaBute's play Reasons to be Pretty at MCC Theatre in New York. He was played alongside The Newsroom's co-star Alison Pill after a critically lauded and sold-out off-Broadway run. The production transferred to Broadway in April of 2009, where it earned 3 Tony Award nominations, including Best Actor for Sadowski. In 2011, he originated the role of Trip Wyeth in John Robin Bates's Other Desert Cities, for which he won an Obie Award and a Lucille Lortel Award. The play, after a sold-out off-Broadway run, transferred to Broadway in 2011.